If you're looking for safe and reliable grinding services, hit up Cliff2_3 on Twitter. Yo, what is good, YouTube? RCA the Great here with another Mind of RCA episode. This is going to be episode 3. Today's episode, we're just going to be talking about kind of adapting to an opponent's style of play. I had a game in Unlimited when I was actually going to pick up this Nikola Vucevic, if I say his name right, Vucevic. Pretty good card, but you had to win 5 Unlimited games, so I brought my team into Unlimited to play a couple games, and I matched up against this guy running a 5-man squad, and he was playing in a pretty peculiar way that was annoying. And at first, I didn't really pay it much attention. I was just doing my thing. I ended up being down a pretty good amount in the first half, but then we turned it up. We switched our settings in the second half, and we clamped up everything what he was doing. So I wanted to just bring that to you guys, show you guys how I switched certain things up, and when I started to actually play a little bit more serious of a game. So a lot of these tips will be helpful for those of you that have trouble stopping rim runners or guys that just run to the rim and then try to kick out for pick and pop every single play. And then obviously using your key players on offense in certain situations where you need to score. So make sure you have a ball handler and a shooter that can just do some damage on the offensive end. But without further ado, let's jump right into the gameplay and we can talk about everything that went down. We pick up here in the first quarter, and I am down 22-10. This guy's in a 5 out. He paused the game right away, went to 5 out. I didn't even do my settings because I wasn't taking the game that serious until like later in the second half. But this is how he ran his offense every single play. Zigzag, try to get around your players. Once he got around your players, he would kick it out into a pick and pop situation and then try to run around you again. So in this moment, we had Moses Malone and Karolinko in the game. We also had Sabonis in certain situations, but I didn't have my full defensive team in, and I also didn't do my settings to start. So as you can see, he's just running, pick and pop with the 5 out settings. You're going to run into players that do this a lot in Unlimited. Now, he didn't score every single time, but I didn't shut it down how I knew I could until he got on the mic and started talking trash. So as you can see at the end of the first quarter, he is up 26-13, and then you see his mic start moving. He gets on the mic and starts talking trash about how he's winning, why he's winning, and that my team was better, etc., etc. So we had to start to turn it up just a little bit. Not fully yet, but we turned it up a little bit. I went and I made sure that I switched my defensive settings a little bit after this play. So he ran around me once again with Penny Hardaway, and that was getting annoying. So I did go to adjust, and I put Sean Marion on Penny Hardaway. That was my first thing that I did. Now, I didn't touch any of the adjustments. I didn't do anything else because, again, I was still just relaxing. As you can see, he's shooting 5 for 5 from 3, 100%. He's scoring every single play. So we get Sean Marion on him. We got Sabonis out there, still a slower center. So still, I don't have my key defensive lineup up to stop everything. I'm talking to him, though, because I want him to know at the end of this half, you're going to be shut down. That's what I was telling him. I was like, get used to what's going on now, because at the end of this half, I'm going to lock you up. And another thing I want to talk about before we get into the second half is making sure you're using your offensive players that you have on your team. If you have great shooters, if you have somebody that can drive to the basket great, and they're not getting enough touches, that's actually going to hurt your offense. So I didn't start using Klay Thompson until this point in the second quarter. As you can see, he only had 2 points. But once the guys started talking, I started using my Klay Thompson more. And you'll be able to see in the second half that I started giving him the ball more. And we start scoring more because Klay is my best shooter. Klay is one of my best ball handlers. And he has some of my best badges. So why not go to him more often? So use your key players. That's a big tip. Don't just let them be on the court for no reason. You get these cards for a reason. So now we got our better lineup in somewhat, but he's still making our players drop. Every single play, he's going to make my players drop because I haven't set my settings. So that is his go-to offense right now, and I noticed that. He's just trying to run by me, do some kind of spin, or do something to make my players drop so that he can get an easy opening 3 in the corner or wing, or get something cheesy inside. So we let it slide again until the second half. I told him once the third quarter starts, you're going to be in shambles. So we got 10 seconds left into the third quarter, and he gets another open 3 that luckily he did miss because 2K was kind of blessing him a lot with those corner drops. But as you can see, we get into the third quarter and we go ahead and put our defensive setting on ball tight, and off ball we go gap because he's running around. He's not looking to shoot catch and shoot threes. So we know that. So we don't go on ball tight because we don't want to give them driving lanes. No drive help to stop the corners from dropping. And then we're going to go defensive threes, no threes in transition. So 40-34 to start the third quarter. And now the defense turns up. Even with Sabonis still in the game, you can see my defense plays a little bit better against that drive because everybody is more in the lane to stop how the drive is going to happen. He's not able to just run around anymore, and now we're getting easy, fast break buckets. Every single time he comes to court, we're going to be in his face. Now we push up into a full court press to make him have to rush more. Now I'm switching around. I'm not just playing on ball anymore. I'm switching off ball a lot more. If you go back to the first quarter, you can tell I was just only on ball a lot. I didn't really care that much. Now we're in the lanes. Now we're moving around. Now we're running, and he has to scramble to get the ball off. He has nobody open. He doesn't know what's going on. He's still trying to talk on the mic because he's winning, but he has a rude awakening as he gets stripped right here. We're off to the races again. Now he comes to the court. He hasn't scored in 2 minutes, so he finally gets a desperation play, and he does get the ball into Glenn Robinson here with Clay on him, and he gets a post up with a spin dunk. But that's one of few times he scored this quarter. I think he only had 6 points in the third quarter. Once again, we get an easy three in the corner with my man Gary Payton. If you haven't gotten him, make sure you go grab Gary because he is one of the best point guards in the game. We rush a little bit right there, try to get the ball to Clay. We're getting a little bit too excited. Throw the ball back court. But the defense is getting ready to get more crazy because now we're putting Josh Smith in at center. I have seen enough. We took Sabonis out of the game, so now we're putting a faster center in that can get us some more steals, play the lane better, and we have more lateral quickness out there with Josh Smith. So first play that Josh Smith gets into the game, we are making sure we're in those lanes, helping over and making him throw bad passes that we get a steal from right away. Once again, off to the races, and we're going to get an easy bucket with Clay, our best shooter. So we're utilizing our best shooters, and now we have a full defensive lineup out there on the court. Now we're going to make him have to play a different style of basketball. He also put his bench in the game because he was running a 5-man. And I don't know why you could be running a 5-man knowing your bench looks like this and then talking smack. So as you can see, his mic is not going off anymore. He is not doing any talking as we get steal after steal. And now we're running around his players. And now we're playing offense kind of how he was, but our defense is stopping him pretty much every single time down the court as we are up 1 with a minute left in the third quarter. So he has scored 4 points in the entire quarter. 8-second violations, turning the ball over, jump balls, you name it. This is what happened to him all game in the second half because he shouldn't have opened his mouth, man. We made our adjustments. We made it happen. Klay Thompson is literally taking every shot on offense, and he's a little bit flustered. Once again, a steal on the inbound. We go up with Josh Smith, and now we're pushing the lead, and we're getting closer and closer to a double-digit lead, which pretty much is going to be all she wrote because there's going to be no way he can come back. We got him passing the ball up to Mitchell Robinson. That's exactly what we want to do. When you're pressing somebody, you want them giving it to a non-ball handler. So if they're going to give it to the center like that, you actually want that to happen because centers has less ball handling. Most likely going to make worse passes, and you're going to be able to steal the ball from them more. So again, we're off to the races in fast break. Every time we're up the court, we're getting the ball to Klay Thompson because he's going to be able to make it happen for us off the dribble. This time he gets into the lane, and he now has 13 points when he only had 2 in the first quarter, or actually in the first half. And the defensive intensity has picked up. We are all over the place in the passing lane. Sean Marion out there with Hall of Fame interceptor. If you are able to pick him up, I definitely think he's worth it. But again, our guy Clay out there just making things happen on the offensive end. As soon as we come up on offense, we're giving the ball to Clay. And we are up 56-46 to start the fourth quarter. So we're up 10 now. And our boy Josh Smith is wreaking havoc. He has Mitchell Robinson out there, who we know is an inside center. So now we can actually, lean off of him a little bit more, play the passing lanes more, and just make things more difficult. He's trying to run around our players, but the gap pressure is actually making him run into a cluster of defenders, which is causing 2 or 3 shot clock violations in this game. So the second half, he was way more flustered. Even though Steve Francis is one of the best ball handlers in the game, he couldn't find enough space to get anything going with him because we had the proper defensive settings. If I would have continued playing how I played in the beginning of the game, he would have still been able to score, and he would have actually ended up winning this game. So Paul Silas with a steal right there, and then he gets a steal on the inbound. Once again, that Hall of Fame interceptor is kind of OP. If you can get plays with Hall of Fame interceptor, that's one of the best badges in the game, especially if you like to play lanes. But again, my boy Clay just going crazy between the legs, behind the back on the fast break. and he greens it. And now you see me on the mic. You know I had to get back on and talk my smack because he was talking to me in the first half. And now things got a little bit more quiet because he is losing the game by a lot when he was winning the game by a lot. And he thought everything was sweet. But once you go ahead and you adapt your game plan and you switch your settings up and you play against the opponent's strengths, it's definitely going to make the game different. So make sure you guys aren't being stubborn out there. You switch and you make the adjustments that you need to make based on what your opponent's doing. Now, in future games, I am going to do the same thing against guys that run pick and roll, against guys that maybe paint mash and other things like that, different lineup things that you can do, in different ways you can approach defense in a way to stop whoever you're going up against at the time. But that's how that game went. Wasn't much he can do after we started to switch things up. He, one, put his bench in, but two, also just didn't have anything else he could go to. That was his only offensive game plan. He didn't have anything else he could switch to stop the defense that we switched up to. So one thing that I have for you guys on offense, make sure you have multiple things in your bag, man. That way you don't get dapped up like that after an L. You can't just do the same thing over and over on offense and look like you're going to have any kind of success. So we got Klay Thompson scoring 24 points when he only had 2 points to start the second half. And if you look at the full game scoring, in the first quarter, we were down 26-13. And then in the third quarter, you can check the first half versus second half. Third quarter, he has 6 points to our 22, and that's when we made our adjustments. So once you start to make your adjustments, you are going to see more success. And in the fourth quarter, we did outscore him again. So that was how that game went, man. Some small adjustments made for some big improvements in the game. So hopefully you guys enjoyed it. I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.